A storm is brewing in the Middle East, a storm that threatens to destabilize the region even further. It's a tempest of a political and military nature, stirred by the ominous warning from retired General Barry McCaffrey. The retired four-star general has stated that if Israel's existence is threatened significantly by neighboring Middle Eastern countries, the United States may intervene with air and naval strikes. This warning didn't come out of the blue. The situation became tense when Hamas militants launched their own series of attacks on Israel, leading to casualties on both sides. The response from the United States was swift and decisive. An aircraft carrier strike group was dispatched to the eastern Mediterranean. The aim? To deter any further escalation of violence and to protect one of its key allies in the region. Yet, despite these measures, the storm continues to gather strength. The situation has reached a critical point, and the potential for further conflict looms large. At this point, the situation seems dire, but it's only the beginning of a series of events leading up to a decisive airstrike. As the tension escalates, the stakes rise, and the situation becomes increasingly precarious. The chilling words of retired General Barry McCaffrey echo in the air, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. He confidently predicts that the United States would consider intervening if Israel faces a severe threat. But let's clarify something here. McCaffrey isn't talking about putting boots on the ground. No, the Israel Defense Forces, with their advanced capabilities, are more than competent to handle that. Instead, he's discussing the potential for air and naval strikes, a show of force that would serve as a deterrent to any further escalation of the conflict. But the US isn't the only player on this global chessboard. Other allies of both the US and Israel are keeping a close eye on the situation, ready to step in if necessary. If the conflict expands beyond Hamas, we could see an international coalition forming, a united front against the forces threatening Israel's stability. This isn't just a local issue anymore. It's a global concern, a potential powder keg that could ignite at any moment. The tension is palpable. You can almost taste it. The world watches and waits as the players move their pieces, each one hoping to avoid the spark that will ignite the fuse. The stage is set. The players are in position. The tension is palpable. The question remains, what will be the trigger? And then it happens, the airstrike, an act that would send shockwaves through the international community. In an act of solidarity with the Palestinians, Hezbollah, the Lebanese political and military group, fired rockets into the Golan Heights, a disputed territory between Israel and Syria. This act of aggression was seen as a direct response to the escalating tensions in the region. The airstrike was not a solitary incident. Reports began to surface of Iran's involvement with Hamas, the Palestinian Sunni Islamic fundamentalist militant organization. This alleged alliance added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Not just a local issue anymore, the situation was morphing into a broader geopolitical crisis, with implications far beyond the borders of these nations. Simultaneously, a voice of caution echoed from Egypt. The country, sharing a long history and intricate relations with both Israel and Palestine, warned Israel of the grave consequences from escalating tensions. Egypt's plea was clear and urgent: exercise restraint to avoid civilian casualties, a plea that, in the heat of the conflict, seemed to be falling on deaf ears. The aftermath of the airstrike was both immediate and far-reaching. The region, already a tinderbox of political and religious tensions, was pushed further into chaos. The global community watched in trepidation as the situation unfolded. Diplomats worked tirelessly behind closed doors, attempting to negotiate a pathway to peace. Yet, the airstrike had irrevocably altered the landscape, making the path to resolution more difficult than ever. The international community's reaction was a mix of shock, concern, and condemnation. The United Nations, the European Union, and many individual nations called for an immediate end to the hostilities. Yet, amidst the cacophony of voices, a clear solution remained elusive. The strike had not just left physical destruction in its wake, it had also torn apart the fragile fabric of diplomacy that had kept the peace, however tenuous, for so long. It's a situation no one wanted, yet here we are. The severity of the situation is clear. The question now is, what comes next? As the dust settles, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution, yet bracing for the possibility of further conflict. Only time will tell the true impact of this airstrike and the course history will take in its aftermath. As the dust settles, we find ourselves reflecting on the events that have transpired. The warnings issued by retired General Barry McCaffrey, who foresaw the possibility of a U.S. intervention in Israel with air and naval strikes, were not taken lightly. The tension in the region escalated, fueled by the ongoing conflict and political unrest. The decisive airstrike, a response to the perceived threat, marked a significant turning point. Its aftermath was felt not just in Israel and Iran, but also rippled across the wider Middle East. We saw the U.S. sending an aircraft carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean, aiming to deter further escalation. Allies of both U.S. and Israel were on high alert, ready to step in if the conflict expanded beyond Hamas. The ongoing impact of these events continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. With Egypt warning Israel of grave consequences and urging restraint to avoid civilian casualties, the situation remains volatile. We can only hope that the lessons learned from this situation will lead to a more peaceful future. Only time will tell.